Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. It is the Jim K. Ford Sens Nation podcast. And if you're catching us on YouTube, make sure you hit follow or subscribe. We publish this is news, Mondays and Thursdays. We're going to try and make sure Mondays and Thursdays come hell or high water.
Okay.
Yeah, we've said that before. Big hello as well to our listeners on CJRO Radio 107 FM in Ottawa's East End, and to everyone tuning in on your favorite podcast app. Thank you as well to our sponsors, Jim K. Ford and Celebrite. This is Sens Nation. My name is Steve Warne. That, in his Slapshot T-shirt, is Gregg Kennedy, the coach. How are things, Gregg?
Tim Dr. Hook McCracken right there, buddy. Yep.
Nice.
Things are good, Steve.
He was one of the kind of the psychotic look on his face. And
that's him.
Center iceman. I remember that.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, good times. Everything's good in these parts, and the season, it feels like it's gotten underway. Monday was the annual golf tournament, and that always feels like the kickoff to a brand new season, doesn't it?
It's about time too, huh? Aren't we all excited now? Get some actual action on the ice. See some of these players compete. Although it doesn't look like there's going to be all that much compete for spots and jobs going on at training camp, but we're getting one step closer to it anyway.
Yep, and the Senator hot stove over my left shoulder here is all fired up. Another sure sign that the Sens season is upon us. And let's begin with rookie camp, because that's probably the most recent bit of news, in that on Thursday and Friday, the rookies got going. They're on-ice workouts. They did some scrimmaging, and then they're going to get ready for a couple of games in Montreal this year, as opposed to Buffalo the last couple of years at the Prospects Challenge there. This time it's off to Montreal with games against the Leafs on Saturday afternoon at 1, and then on Sunday night, 7 o'clock against the Winnipeg Jets. And you alluded to it just now. It's not a fact. It's just, you look up and down that lineup, and they do have some interesting names in there, in Halliday and Yakimchuk. My assessment of it, though, is I just don't think there's anybody on this rookie roster that is going to be on the opening night NHL roster.
I would concur, unless it's Yakimchuk who ends up being on the roster. I still say he's going to start the year in Belleville. He may be up come Christmas time, but I don't see any of the rest of them. Like the cupboard's pretty bare. Everybody 23 and under, or 24 and under even, is already graduated to the big club. There's not that much down there anymore that's NHL ready, or really even all that close to NHL ready outside of Yakimchuk.
David Bell was asked about players that stood out on day one of rookie camp, and he would certainly be, the guy to talk to. He knows a lot of these guys in Belleville, and so he's pretty much an expert on this group. And with a guy like Yakimchuk out there, or say a Halliday, I was surprised with the first name that he talked about when asked who stood out. This is David Bell, courtesy of the Senators let's try that again, YouTube channel.
I think it's good. I jump off just got off the ice, but like a guy like Xavier Bourgault, he's probably healthier than he's been. He has a little bit more jump. He's a little bit of tenacity out there. He got in some battles and won the battles where you probably didn't see that last year. And he was playing through some injuries, and I thought he was really competitive out there. So that's a guy that kind of jumped off the page for me in the first game. And, it's time for him to take a step. He's in the last year of his entry level, and he needs to be a big contributing factor. It's just so hard to say. Like you say, a Carter Yakimchuk's skill set is NHL ready, or Stephen Halliday's, but Oscar Pettersson's compete level is NHL ready. So it's how are they going to have the ability to blend their strengths and cover up their deficiencies when they get against real NHL guys? Because again, this is great and it's competitive, but these aren't NHL players yet. So when they get in NHL camp next week, and they can show what the strides, the work they did this summer, but there is some guys with NHL skill. There's some guys with NHL size. There's some guys with NHL compete. Can they bring the rest of their game together to be able to be a contributing factor for Travis? I don't know.
He also had comments about Tyler Boucher being healthy and happy, and that's probably that's as good as it gets at this stage of the game.
Oh man, wasn't Tyler Boucher healthy and happy last year at this time of year too? I think he was ready for training camp, wasn't he? Like, is he our new Logan Brown?
I don't think so. I don't think it is. I think he can probably play at the American Hockey League level. It's just a matter of staying one piece for a season, and maybe a guy that can get a look once in a while. But yeah, I think no matter what, I think the ship has sailed on him being any kind of an impact NHL player, like they expected when they drafted him 10th overall. But so he did talk about Tyler Boucher being healthy and happy, and I think that's a good thing. I don't think we want to mock that for sure. It's just a frustration. If you're a Sens fan listening in right now, it's hard. It's hard to separate. What is he? 22 now, 23, something like that, maybe 22. It's hard to separate the kid from the disappointment you have as a fan for what the Sens did with that selection, 10th overall back in 2021.
Yeah, it wasn't a good draft at all, really. It was, but although Ostapchuk, I guess, would be the only player really. I'm trying to remember the names. Remember Ben Roger was in that draft. The Senators half the league did not do well. That you'll recall that, of course, was coming off the COVID season where hardly anybody played any games. The Senators were amongst the half of the league that did not do well that day at draft day. But interesting, though, that you mentioned and David Bell mentioned Xavier Bogart. Oh, I can't even say his name. Or go. Interesting. I mean, it's a skill player who's had his ups and downs and his bumps and bruises. And maybe if he's comfortable and healthy, maybe he can produce at a half-decent clip down there in Belleville and maybe get a cup of coffee at some point during the season. Who knows?
I was not there at rookie camp this year. I was there last year, but it sort of reminded me of Groundhog Day in that they were calling up the same. Who you guys want to talk to after practice today? And it was the same guys, Yakimchuk, Halliday, and Tyler Boucher. Right. And so it just, let's be honest, there's a lot of guys on this team just at University of Wisconsin, let alone NCAA programs, and obviously they can't be here because they're enrolled in school. But you might have a different vibe about things if you had a Logan Hensler and a Blake Montgomery right. and a Bruno Egan here. I don't know if Tyson Dick or Dyke Dick. I'm not sure. I'm not sure he's seen as an NHL prospect, but the other three are all very intriguing prospects. So it'd be nice to have them here to have a kind of a different vibe. I just don't see it at this stage of the game. Yakimchuk is certainly a guy that is their best prospect. But again, I think I've mentioned this before. I think just at a best policy, best in class, as they like to call it, for the same reasons they decided to send him back to junior last year, even though he was probably comfortably inside the NHL roster just based on a meritocracy. They sent him back anyway. Well, I think that's going to happen again this time, and they're going to send him to the American Hockey League anyway, no matter what, unless there's an injury or something like that. So rookie camp continues, and like I say, a couple of games in Montreal this weekend. And that's not a bad deal too, right? Buffalo is where they've been for the last couple of years for the Prospects Challenge. Not a bad thing, really. Had the kids potentially playing in front of what would be much larger crowds in Montreal.
Definitely, yeah, and in a nice rink and everything. Yeah, like that's pretty. I'm sure a lot of them are pretty excited about that. And I mean, geographically too, the players are probably the guys who have been to a couple of these already are tired of going to wherever Buffalo was. Buffalo's camp, was it actually in Buffalo, the tournament? I'm trying to remember. It's nice for them to get to go somewhere else too, right? And but I agree with you totally with Yakimchuk. I just think but he's a nice, skilled guy to have as like number one, ready to call up, right? Assuming everything is progressing along that same curve the way it was through training camp last year, he will be a nice little addition whenever they do call him up or need him in an injury situation or whatever.
The Sens golf tournament, as I mentioned, happened on Monday at the Marshes, and it's one of those Hope Springs Eternal things. Start of the year, the unofficial kickoff, and everybody in good spirits. I think everybody was there player-wise, with the exception of Linus Ullmark, who was at kind of that NHL media day, taking slap shots from the slot and things like that. But it looked like everybody else was there. And, GM Steve Staios, I don't think they didn't make any managers or coaches available last year, but it was Tim Stutzle, Thomas Chabot, and Steve Staios. And Staios, man, I don't know how many more times he could use the word optimism, but that's exactly what you want to hear from your general manager on the first official day of work for the organization. This is Steve Staios, courtesy of the Sens YouTube channel.
I believe in the group. It's pretty clear that Claire had brought up minimal changes to the group. I didn't see, when you take an honest look at our group and how they performed post-trade deadline and even how they grew in that playoff series in round one, at times as a manager you look back and you see that growth, and that gives me optimism to bring the group back. As far as next steps, I think it's a process. We know how hard it is just to get into the playoffs, and being able to focus in on having the confidence to know that we can play a certain style that'll lend ourselves to becoming a playoff team again, and then the confidence of those experiences, I think, help.
So that's Steve Staios in conversation with the media.
Ready for the big game? Your home should be too. With Celebrate Lights, you can show your team spirit and light up every victory. Sync your lights to your team's colors and let the whole neighborhood know when they score. Match your team's colors, celebrate every win, and take the excitement to the next level. Celebrate permanent holiday lighting, the easiest way to set the stage for unforgettable moments.
So, are you ready to take your Ford ownership to the next level? Look no further than Jim K. Ford, introducing Ford Pass, your passport to a world of convenience and control. With Ford Pass, you're in control like never before. Start your vehicle remotely, lock or unlock it from your smartphone no matter where you are, receive instant alerts about your vehicle's health, and schedule service appointments with ease. Ford Pass puts you in the driver's seat of your car's maintenance. Plus, enjoy access to exclusive perks and rewards, earn points on vehicle purchases and service visits, and redeem them at your discretion. Their dedicated team at Jim K. Ford is here to assist you every step of the way. They make Ford ownership a breeze. So why wait? Visit Jim K. Ford today. Experience the future of driving with Ford Pass. Visit them at 1438 Uville Drive in Orleans or online at jimkford.com. And a number of people I've heard in the offseason here coming up to the start of training camp have been talking about post-deadline. And whether you're talking about 5-on-5 scoring or the team's record, like there's a lot to be excited about this team post-deadline after they get Dylan Cousins, after they get Fabian Zetterlund. The question is that an outlier? To me, it's not, just because that's the time of year when everybody's playing with their hair on fire, jostling for their playoff lives. And that's, after the deadline, when the Sens posted the second best record in all of the NHL, and their 5-on-5 scoring went from 31st to 11th in the final 21 games, 11th in the 21 games, measuring that. All good signs, though, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, that was the roster, right? The tinkering, changes made, trades made. That's the roster that he finished the year with. That they finished the year with. That they're going to start the year with. So, optimism is the perfect word for him. He should be optimistic. He better be. He's the one who made the changes. He's the one in charge. I don't think we want to hear him saying he's pessimistic about the season. But yeah, down the stretch last year was totally different, a 180 from down the stretch any other year. Like all those years before when the Senators finished so well and had a great record the last 20 games and all that stuff because they're playing teams that didn't care anymore. Well, they were playing games that mattered to them, so their approach was different, their style of play was different, their commitment and just the way they played those games. Then into the playoffs, yeah, it's a total 180. Those games are meaningful to the Senators now, last year, and they certainly performed well, and that's where the optimism comes from. Steve Staios doesn't have a lot to sell here as far as changes in the summer, free agents. Like, it's not like he's going to be sitting there at his press conference talking about this player he signed and that player he signed. Really, it's just Spence, and the rest of it is, hey, that's why he keeps talking about go back further, go back to the trade deadline, the acquisitions then. That was sort of their summer of acquisitions, started at the trade deadline, and now this is the roster, and he should be optimistic. They look pretty good.
Yeah, I'd agree. I've got them as a contender, so I'm on record as saying that. So I like what they have, but it doesn't necessarily mean they're a finished product. I think some people will take that step. Okay, Staios didn't make any moves. He thinks that they can win it all right now. Not necessarily. What may have happened and most likely happened is that he goes into every offseason trying to improve the team, looking at opportunities, but maybe in all likelihood something that made sense to improve the team never really came along. Although at the same time, he also decided to tell the media right after free agency that they were probably done. Mm-hmm. So at this stage of the game, you kind of know what you have, what you're willing to give up. Like, we're going to talk about Sidney Crosby here in a minute, because I know that Overdrive, TSN's afternoon show in Toronto, they were talking about Sidney Crosby maybe ending up with the Senators. And it's like, in what world would that make sense in terms of You want to give up Jake Sanderson? Because that's what the Penguins are coming for.
Yeah, that's scary. Like, would you love to? I'd love to have Sidney Crosby playing here, but I don't think it's ever going to happen. I don't know that Sid would come here. I mean, he is friends with Drake Batherson, but I think if he's going to come to Canada at all, it's going to be Montreal. Otherwise, it's somewhere else, and it's probably like if I'm Sidney Crosby and I have my choice, I don't even think my choice would be Montreal. My choice would be one of the top 3 or 4 teams in the league. Like, that only makes sense. I can't see Sidney Crosby choosing Ottawa, and I can't see Ottawa paying the price to get him. They're not at that stage in their development yet that bringing in Crosby as a last piece to win a Stanley Cup or something, that's not in the cards here in Ottawa at all.
Remember that Eastern final? I think it was 15 years ago now, between Crosby and the Penguins and Claude Giroux and the Flyers. Man, those two hated each other. It would be interesting to see them get together. I think they have buried the hatchet since then. But former foes, friends again, potentially. I don't think so. I don't see that happening for a 3-pronged reason, Greg. You can't really give at this stage, you can't really give the Penguins something they would want. They're looking for futures. Yeah. They're getting rid of Crosby because they're now going to enter a rebuild situation. So they want youth, and they want good youth right away. So you're talking a first rounder and, one of the top young players on this team. And that would not go over well for a guy who, as great as Sidney Crosby is, only has a couple of years left. But then there's also the factor of, would the Penguins want to do this, or would they want to let this guy, an icon, Alfredsson style, Sens never pulled that off, but their fan base would not be happy if this guy didn't go to wire. So there's a good chance the Penguins don't want to do this. And then even if they did for a rebuild's sake, there's a good chance Sidney Crosby doesn't want to do this. And maybe he'll want to stay for his entire career with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Like, what is he chasing? He's done it all, Greg.
Yeah. Like, if I'm Sidney Crosby, or if I'm the Pittsburgh Penguins, the only way I'm trading Sidney Crosby is if he asks for it. And even if he asks for it, I need the whole world to know that he asked for it. I'm not just going to have Sid whisper in my ear and say, yeah, get me out of here. I'm good to go. And then trade him and let everybody think that Kyle Dubas just made this trade on his own. You need people to know. If you're the Pittsburgh Penguins with a fan base, like you just alluded to, you need people to know that Sid asked for it, and you're doing him a favor and trying to get him somewhere good where he has a chance to win again. You need that. You need to sell it that way to your fan base. It's the only way.
Yeah. Yeah, and that anyway, it got tongues a wagging when TSN Overdrive talked about it. I know Bruce Garriock reported on it, the speculation in post media, but I just think it's a non-starter in every way. And so that's all we have to say about that. But let's get back to the golf tournament on Monday. Steve Staios also had an interesting question posed to him. I believe it's the first time that anybody's asked about this player, and that is Alex Formenton, who, along with the other 4 players from the 2018 World Junior team, were cleared of all charges in that trial earlier this summer. And now everybody's been wondering what is going to happen with these players. When will they be reinstated? Well, as we talked about in the last episode, Alex Formenton, the former Senator, whose playing rights are still owned by the Sens, still an RFA with the team, signed on with his old Swiss team in Ambri-Piotta. And okay, how am I going to do this? Okay, I'm going to play back Formenton's comments here in a second. But first, it was TSN's Claire Hanna who asked the question after Formenton signed in Switzerland. What's the deal? What's your game plan if any, in terms of having Formenton back on this team?
I have no comment on that. In fact, it's a league matter, and the player is ineligible to play.
If he was eligible, would there be interest in possible?
I won't comment on it.
That's about all we expected at that stage of the game.
Yeah, that was before they became eligible.
That's right. And so that was within a day or two, couple of days. So all of a sudden the NHL midweek came out and said, okay, these 5 guys are all eligible to return to the NHL, never minding what their contractual situations are and other situations, like just in general, December 1st, all 5, if somebody wants them, they can play in the NHL again. And all 5 can also sign with their teams as of October 15th. So now that we know that particular roadmap, Greg, How do you see it playing out now for Formenton?
I do not see the Ottawa Senators signing him. He's the player profile is good, right? He's speed, PK, can get in on a forecheck, can play 200 feet, but there's baggage. And I don't think the Senators are interested in that. Best in class organizations are not interested in that. I think the Senators will find a way to move them to somebody. Somebody will come knocking on the door and offer them a third or a fourth or something, and that'll be that. It'll be done. They'll wash their hands of it, and that's the end of it. That's my thought on it anyway. I cannot see this team. I cannot see this group, this ownership group, this management team signing the player. Can't see it.
Yeah, I think at this stage of the game, I tend to agree, though. They had an opportunity there when he was asked that question by Claire Hanna, Steve Staios. He could have put it to rest forever. Said, no, we're not going to be bringing him back ever. Like, I'm sure the organization has a sense of what they're going to do. It's one of two things now. It's going to be they are going to sign him, or they didn't, they don't want to comment on it to say, definitely we don't want him, because if they are angling to potentially trade the asset, well, what's a really fast way to devalue your asset?
Yeah.
And that's to say, we want nothing to do with that guy.
Right.
So one of those two things are still on the table here. So Steve Staios had a chance to dismiss it outright. So I don't think it's, philosophically one of those things where, like with the Mitchell Miller, where they just basically rescind their rights to the player.
Yeah.
They at the very least want to retain the asset. That for sure is happening.
I think that rescind, that just walk away from the player, that might be a really, really good, strong move for a good portion of your fan base, right? Like I'm not saying I would want to walk away from the guy. It's an asset. It's worth something. You should try to get something for it. But for the number of people who probably aren't too happy about the situation, that might be a really good PR move. Like if they could afford to do it, give them up for nothing. That might be a nice move, right?
Yeah, but that's my point, though, in that they walked away from that by doing the no comment thing, really.
Yeah.
I guess they could still walk away, but if they were looking to, basically do the best in class thing, and this is behavior that we don't condone under any circumstances, that would be something they would have probably, an opinion that he would have formulated, a long time ago, earlier this summer at least.
Right.
Wouldn't have taken that long to decide that. And I feel like that is the one of the three possibilities that is now off the table because they chose with this perfect opportunity to do it. And it would have taken 5 seconds. No, we're a best-in-class organization. We don't condone the behavior, so we are going to rescind that and that the rights to that player. So they chose not to do that, so I assume that they're not going to do that. I think they're going to do one of the other two things, either trade him or sign him. That's my feeling on it. But I agree with you. So let us now get to, it's just really interesting to see the different reaction between the NHL. The Formenton and the four others are cleared of all charges, and the NHL immediately keeps them on, I don't know, I'm not even sure how it works, but on the suspended list until December 1st. Like this thing was settled, in July sometime, and now they don't get to play until December 1st, even though they're not guilty on all charges. The NHL handled it very strictly one way, whereas the Swiss League, not only do they sign Formenton to play, he's going to miss the first couple of games until he gets up to speed and everything, but he signed a 3.5 months contract, as we talked about in the last episode. Not only has he signed the contract, like if you had a chance to see their social media page, like there was a celebration, like there was at least half a dozen tweets of his scoring highlights, how excited they are. They've got him in, the team uniform for picture day with the green screen behind him and all that. And a reasonably long interview, which is, I think, the first hockey-related interview that he's probably done in years. Such a different dynamic, isn't it?
Yeah, and he's genuinely excited. Like he was complimenting the team, the organization, the players, the game they play, his game, how it plays in that sort of setting. He talked about the town, and yeah, he's pretty excited about it. It's better than digging ditches. So he's out of the construction business and back into playing hockey. And We'll see how it works out. I think it was all predetermined, right? Like this whole idea of this 3.5 month contract. You don't think maybe that the players and the agents there had an inkling that this December 1st was going to be the date? I'm sure they did when they signed the contract, and the team would have known that too and said, yeah, okay, we'll go with that deal. And if you want, you're free December 1st. So it's going to be no, I'm not going to say it. It'll be fascinating to see how this all ends up. I think Carter Hart's the first one who will probably sign somewhere. Dylan Dubé could still be an effective bottom six forward somewhere. I don't know that Cal Foote's really played a lot in the NHL. And Formenton, and who am I missing? I'm missing one. Oh, sorry, Michael McLeod, right? So between the five of them, I think that Carter Hart goes first, and then see that's the first shoe to drop, and we'll see what goes from there.
All right, so this is courtesy of Ambry Piotta HC. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I have no idea. This is what I believe to be the first hockey-related interview for Alex Formenton since this whole thing went down.
Yeah, it feels amazing. I mean, to get back out on the ice, it feels really good. Like I've said before, it feels like home here, so excited to get started and play in front of these fans. I like it. It seems like a very tight group. You know, it seems like everyone's willing to fight for each other, and hopefully it will be a very successful season. I think the fans deserve it, and everyone in that room deserves it. Hope to bring just, a high pace, hard-working forward, and if that comes along with, scoring some goals or helping out on the PK wherever I'm needed that's what I'm trying to work towards. I'm just really excited to put the jersey back on and play in front of them because, they've been very supportive, and that was honestly one of my favorite things of being here is just how loud they are during the games.
So there's Alex Formenton in conversation with, I assume, the social media team from Ambry Piotta. It's kind of interesting there when he's saying things like, that this team fights for each other and they support each other. And I don't know, just given the circumstances, I wonder if there's not something there that's kind of a backhanded message to his former NHL club and to not everybody, but maybe some people.
I think he's just thrilled to be playing anywhere. I think he would have said all those same statements if he'd signed with the Cumberland Grads. He would have had the same thing to say, same comments. Happy to be here, love it. The fans are great. Looking forward to playing with these guys. They deserve a championship, yada, yada. Same basic stuff.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know to be sure. I mean, it may just be the common dialogue, the cliched answers, all of those things. But when you talk about this team fights for each other, this team supports each other, and I'm paraphrasing now.
Right.
I wonder if that's aimed at anybody. Maybe just certain people. I'm not talking everybody, but maybe certain people. And that he didn't get that treatment after this whole thing went down. Anyway, what about this? Alex Formenton has a bunch of really, really close friends on this team still,
Right.
like half a dozen. Like he in truth is very well liked. Nobody's talking about Alex Formenton. In fact, Tim Stutzle actually said they were told not to talk about him. He was asked the same question at the Monday golf tournament, and I don't know. Is there anybody that does that make a difference to the organization? If, say, some of the big guns on this team who are fond of Alex Formenton, who've always had his back, go and say we'd like to, we'd like you to consider the idea. Does that curry any favor in any way, shape, or form? Or is the team just going to do what they're going to do?
Well, I think first and foremost, we have to see how he performs, right? If he's playing well and producing, and it looks like this is a player, like I said, that the player profile certainly fits good play on this team. I think it comes down to his performance first and foremost. Now, if there was one or two guys, if there was 6 or 7 guys went in and had a closed door chat with Steve Staios and talked about it, then maybe. I mean, let's not forget, now it was a different general manager at the time, but this team traded Mark Stone right out from under Brady Tkachuk, and only Brady was too happy about that. So if Brady comes up on this one, hey, let's sign for me. We could use him back here. Let's get him. I don't know. I'd like to think that an organization that believes in this best in class, I'd like to think that they're not going to do it. That no matter what happens, nobody's going to sway them.
I'm certainly not implying that any of this pressure would come now or any decision making would come now. I definitely think, I think he's going to go. And I mean, what I don't understand necessarily is he's got a 3.5 month contract. Can he still, because that'll take you now to late December and that Swiss League holiday break. And I wonder, does he still have the opportunity to sign a NHL contract after October 15th when he's eligible to? Is that I don't know what his contract reads, but that will be an interesting scenario as well. But no, I do think that, absolutely. He's got to show that he can be at least a shadow of the player he was when his career was halted. He had 18 goals. And you mentioned everything that he is. The other thing he is super feisty. Like he is a feisty hockey player as well. And so I think he can upgrade that bottom six, honestly, if he can get back to where he was. And that's the nice thing about this 3.5 month run. Not only do you find out if he's still got some game, and I don't want to measure what he did in Switzerland before. People are saying, look at his stats in Switzerland. Do you have any idea how much that must have been on that guy's mind while he was trying to keep his career going? Now that's behind him. Now he can get back to focusing on hockey. So if he can play really well over in Switzerland, then that's a good thing. And then you'll also be 3.5 months farther along from this not being in people's consciousness. And so maybe there's more of an appetite for it, whether it's the Senators or a team they might trade him to. So it will be interesting. We should just name the show. It will be interesting to see what happens next.
I think it comes down to middle six versus bottom three. If he looks like and you feel like he can play and contribute in your middle six, then I can understand them at least having the conversation about it. But if he's just another fourth line guy, there's no point to it. Like, why take on all that extra crap for a fourth liner? You just don't need it. So that's why I think a lot more of it has to do with how he performs. His performance on the ice will factor into the decision, and that's the only way it'd sway me. If he looks like he could spell some guys in the second line, and he looks like he could easily contribute consistently every night in your third line, then that makes you think a little about whether you should be doing it or not.
Yeah, I at this moment in time, I would tend to agree. It will be. I'll be keen to see where we are in 3 months' time and see if because smoke clears. It really does. It's amazing the attention spans. Things happen in the world, and things get thrown to the back of your mind. And I'm reserving judgment until we see where we are in 3 months' time. Now back to Tim Stutzle. I did mention him. He also spoke to the media at the Sens golf tournament on Monday, and he said something kind of interesting in that he said, I feel as good as I have in a while. Because you'll remember he's had some off-season rehabbing to do. He had a wrist last season that he came back from. Just had a bunch of different bumps and bruises as we go. And this time around, he rolled through the summer in pretty decent shape, feeling really good now. But he had something interesting to say about his participation for Team Germany at the World Hockey Championships, and that he's thinking to himself, maybe I shouldn't have gone.
Yeah, really good. Probably feel the best I've felt in a long time. Probably shouldn't have played the Worlds after the playoffs, but I just kind of play hockey a little bit longer because I had so much fun playing the playoff games, and but I feel really good. I'm really excited to get started and get started with testing.
Why didn't you feel like you could play in the Worlds, or why did you feel like maybe you should?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you have a pretty long season, I played all the games. I mean, you kind of have a break for 2 weeks. You're on the highest of high, playing playoffs, and you go on the lowest of low, probably just doing nothing for 2 weeks, and then going to Worlds. So it was kind of a last-minute decision too. So I just should have been prepared maybe a little better. And obviously, it's always a huge honor to represent the country, and especially before Olympics, that's where you want to show up and try the best for your country.
So there's Tim Stutzle in conversation with the media, and it's a long grind. It's going to be 84 games next year, and it feels now like every February they're going to be up to something. I wonder about the World Hockey Championship participation levels when guys are feeling beat up at the end of a longer season. With some February international play in there as well, then in a lot of cases the playoffs. I think it's going to be harder than ever to get guys to go to the World Hockey Championships.
I feel sorry for who's ever running that program. It's this year for the World, so that's good. That's going to be tough to get guys to want to come because none of your top guys are going to go.
Yeah, and the other thing about Stutzle I wanted to bring up was how I felt like the last couple of years, and I think most fans have been about learning to play the game the right way. Good two-way hockey, not cheating for your offense, which I think you could probably accuse him of in that 2022-23 season when he had 90 points. Saw a big dip. It's funny how that is. We talk about it with Carter Yakimchuk. He goes back to Calgary to work on his P's and Q's, and his numbers, offensive numbers, plummet. And the same thing happened to Stutzle over the last couple of years. Not terrible. I mean, they're both in the 70s versus being in the 90s. And so to me, it feels like, and just seeing him speak and also seeing the way he played the last couple of years, not just good two-way hockey, but especially in the second half of last season, I hate to use this phrase, but he's starting to play like a man again. Not again, but he's starting to play like a man.
Yeah.
He's not going down. He's not going back to the bench with the weight of the world and an upset look on his face. I guess he's taking what Travis Green is saying to heart, and that you focus on the present and don't get too high, don't get too low, all that. But to me, it looked like he kind of became a man in the second half of last season. And with that said, I feel like he could have a big breakout year and get back closer to that 90 points, maybe even the Century Club.
Yeah, that's the whole time you're talking there. I'm thinking to myself, like, what is the ceiling of Tim Stutzle? Is he a 100-point guy someday in the NHL? And if that's the case, when is it this year? Is it next year? Is he a 90-point guy? I really don't know, because you've seen such a fluctuation up and down with over the seasons, and even within a season. He just, whatever it is, he has never, in my mind, consistently for a long stretch of time produced like a guy you can look at him and say, yeah, that's a 100-point guy, or that's a 90-point guy. I guess he did one year because he got to the 90, but I don't know. Like, I see him more as a 25 goal guy, maybe a 60, 65 point guy. I'd love to see more, but from what I've seen from him, it doesn't seem like he's a 90-point guy yet. You think he can get to 100?
I think he this year he's going to be between 90 and 100 points. Like
That'd
I
be
say,
nice.
yeah, for sure it would. They need it. I look at a guy who just seems to be, and I don't want to say he wasn't a man before. That's a wrong way of putting it, but it's a little bit of the, I don't know, the sins of youth behind him now. He's just got,
Okay, yeah.
he just looks like he's matured. That's probably the best way to suggest it. And I mean that mentally, and I mean that physically, and just the way he plays out there. So I think he's got that. I feel he's got it down pat. He's got down pat what Travis Green and they were a new coaching staff this time last year, so there was a learning process there. Now it feels like it's out of the gate, everybody's on the same page. Very much a returning group with everything down pat. It feels like it could be more second nature at this stage of the game now that Stutzle is 23. And that's when a lot of careers tend to take off. So, yeah, I do think he's going to be between 90 and 100 points for this season.
And I should correct myself. I think I said 60, 65. It's 70, 75 is more where I see him. But yeah. Is he a point a game guy? Well,
Yeah,
it'll be fun to find out.
It'll be interesting. It will. Okay, we got to put that away. It's getting old. It's getting like, okay. So that'll do it for this week's show. And now we were talking about doing some book reviews. We'll start that maybe in the next episode.
Yes, because it's been a tough week for me reading, Steve. The Blue Jays are oh man, I'm big into the Blue Jays, of course, this time of year. So I didn't read anything this week. Sorry.
It didn't have to be this week. You've got an entire. If you're watching on YouTube, Gregg's got about 5,000 different books behind you, and you can go with something that you've already read. It doesn't have to be like timely or anything. All right,
I'll pick something.
Okay, you don't have anything ready for us now in terms of a pick?
Well, I was talking to you about there's a book on the Flyer. They're going home, that game.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a book on the Habs New Year's Eve game. They both happen the same year. And then there's a book on the entire series. So I thought I'll read the book on the series up until the Flyer game. Then I'll read the Flyer game book. Then I'll go back to the book on the series up to the Hab game. I don't know. I'm just playing around. Well, I'll figure it out.
All right. 50 years since that series. Crazy,
Yeah.
that tour. Man, life is flying by. That will do it for today's episode, ladies and gentlemen. As I go to the script now, don't forget to check us out on YouTube and hit subscribe or follow. New shows drop every Monday and Thursday. Thanks again to our partners, Jim K. Ford and Celebrate. Thanks to everybody listening on CJRO 107 FM in Ottawa's East End. You have been listening to the Sens Nation podcast, and we'll talk again soon. Thanks, Gregg.
See you, buddy. Thank you.